right, now I want to bring in Nikita Khrushcheva. She is a professor in the Julien J Studley graduate programs of international affairs at the New School and great-granddaughter of a former leader of the Soviet Union. Nina, great to have you on with us. Let's start with your reaction to what happened here in the U.S. today. I mean, what kind of implications did what happened today have on a global scale?
Well, we've never seen such a blow up in the White House. That's just something that is completely unimaginable and unimagined until this moment. But I'm sure everybody basically shocked and says this. But it doesn't look very good for Volodymyr Zelenskyy at this point, because as Donald Trump said, he doesn't have the cards, and he really doesn't. And so the question is whether Volodymyr Zelenskyy will want to repair the relationship, which is going to be very hard because the relationship has been breaking down and breaking down and breaking down. And in fact, today's meeting happened because Emmanuel Macron, who was here earlier in the States early in the week, convinced Trump to meet with Zelenskyy. Trump didn't want to do it. So how it's going to be repaired? And we're getting closer to something that we've been speculating for at least last month, even longer since Trump got elected, is whether it's going to be America against Europe, which is also absolutely unheard of because America has been the leader of the Western world, so to speak, and is the primary member of NATO. So we are going to see more breaking, or maybe it was going to be more and more shock for Europe when it does want to create its own international agenda, its own military agenda, its own policy agenda, and kind of have to understand that America of Trump the next 4 years is not going to be a partner as it was before, but probably just continue to have some relationship. And so Donald Trump wouldn't damage the world more. I'd hope that Donald Trump wouldn't damage the world more rather than less.
Nina, for our viewers who are just joining us from across the country and around the world, we want to recap this heated meeting that happened between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy and U.S. President Donald Trump inside the White House's Oval Office earlier today. Let's take a listen.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. Remember this. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. But right now, you don't. You're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country, that's back to you, far more than a lot of people said they should have.
And Nina, we want to welcome you back and get your perspective again. I want to read to you what Volodymyr Zelenskyy tweeted out just moments ago after he was ushered out of the White House. He says, "Thank you, America. Thank you for your support. Thank you for this visit. Thank you, POTUS, Congress, and the American people. Ukraine needs just and lasting peace, and we are working exactly for that." What do you make, Nina, of this response?
Well, it's nice. It's good. Zelenskyy stood up to Trump. Good for him. But the question is, when you have this kind of need in support of the United States, and you keep saying that you need this kind of need, and Keir Starmer of Great Britain and Emmanuel Macron of France just came a few days ago in advance to prepare for your visit, potentially that was not necessarily a very strategic response. It was a response of a president at war, but not of a politician. And I think with Trump, probably Zelenskyy this time needed to be more of a politician. On the other hand, since I am from a country of Vladimir Putin and other despotic leaders in the Kremlin, you never know. You can appease them. You can be very nice to them. You can compliment them, and then they're going to scream at you anyway. So, but he wasn't really very strategic and political in this. It seems that he wants to at least set it aside and keep this way. I think one argument that he made, I don't know if you're going to play it, when he was talking about Europe's support, and of course Trump is always repeating the same thing, that America did more and Europe did less, and so on and so forth. It would never have begun because if he were in the White House. But Zelensky said that we are defending Europe, that through Ukraine, through this fight, that's why we needed to be helped, because we are defending Europe. And if we don't defend Europe, then you are going to feel the same pressure from the Russians crossing the ocean or something like that. And for Trump, actually, it was a proof of his argument. It wasn't against Trump's argument, is that, you know what? If you are defending Europe and I'm telling you that Europe should do more, let Europe do more. And that's when Trump blew up and said, don't tell us how we feel and whether the Russians are coming for the Americans. So this is where, once again, it wasn't really, it was an emotional argument, and the argument that Vladimir Zelensky has been making to Joe Biden all the 3 years. But that's not an argument to make for Trump. It's actually, that proves his point, is that this is European stuff, and we are fine, and we can help you out of a good nature. But if you are not grateful, you're just going to deal with yourself. So the next question, whether Europe is going to be ready to go with Ukraine going to war with Russia. That's, I think, kind of potentially the next breakdown that we're going to be witnessing, how Europe is going to play in this. Although Zelensky did say we're not playing cards, but play in this scenario. Are they going to be a buffer between and try to move Ukraine and United States together, or they're siding with Ukraine? And then if they continue military help, military assistance, and Trump withdraws himself from any potential negotiations with Putin, then they may be indeed Third World War.
Yeah, I wonder what this might look like if America does pull some support from Ukraine, especially when it comes to that notion that you mentioned of America versus Europe.
Well, this is something we don't know. I mean, it's kind of, once again, in the 21st century, suddenly we're dealing with geopolitics of the 19th century. We know it from books. We know it when we talk about Putin's empire, but we don't really know how it works among democratic nations, because the nations we used to discuss in 19th century, Germany versus France versus Germany, they're all members of European Union, they're all members of NATO. So we are now dealing with similar points of China is a great power, Russia is a great power, America is a great power, Europe, countries together are great powers, but with different configuration. And so it's hard to predict how it's going to play out. I think that with this blow up, it's unfortunate that Starmer and Macron actually just came to the United States in vain. Whether they would want to pick up this mission of try to bring Trump on their side, on the Ukraine side, that's a big question. But what it seems that all this comments for democracy, for comments for we need to punish the aggressor, comments for all the things we have sort of used to in the normal world order are not going to work for Trump. So for him, only the economic argument works. And that's what actually the Russians are doing now. And it seemed to be more successful than American traditional allies in that.
And Nina, really quickly want to ask you, if Zelensky comes back to the White House, because this ended today with Trump saying he can come back when he's ready for peace, from a strategy perspective, what kind of approach do you think Zelensky needs to take if and when he does come back?
Then I think what Trump means is that if you're ready to cede territory, if you are ready to sign that rare metal earth deal. And you noticed in Trump's conversation, I remember his first term, he was talking about clean coal. I mean, I don't think he knows exactly what it is at all, but he likes the combination of words, the rare earth or something. So there's something, so it's going to be probably more drastic, but it should be. I mean, if I were advising Zelensky, I would really write in 2 columns what I can expect, if I want, and I do want to work with the United States. One, what I can give up and what I can absolutely not give up. And if there is nothing he could give up, then he will continue fighting, and then Europe is on his side, and then maybe we are in another war bigger war situation. Or if he can give something up, I would put it in a column and say, okay, well, here are the things that absolutely impossible for me to give up. But on whatever other points, like 3 points, I'm willing to negotiate. And I think that more business-like approach and not a hero of war approach, because Trump doesn't want heroes next to him because he's the savior of the world, not anybody else. So no, the hero of war approach probably can work in strategic terms.
Okay, Nina Khrushcheva, thank you for your perspective on this.